There is a village in Edo State that does not appear on any government map. The elders say this is intentional. They say some places are better left unfound. The village is called Ogbene. And if you ever find yourself driving through the dense forest roads between Benin City and Ochi at night, if your headlights ever catch a rusted signpost half swallowed by bush, do not stop. Do not turn in. And whatever you do, do not enter the forest after sunset. My name is Emeka Osagie. I am a secondary school history teacher from Lagos. I am not the kind of man who believes in things he cannot explain. I was. My grandmother, Mama Esse, as everyone called her, was from Ogbene. She left in 1987 and never returned. She never told us why. When I was a child and asked her about her village, her eyes would travel somewhere far behind her face, and she would say only, "That place belongs to something older than us, Emeka. Do not ask me again." She died in February 2019. 3 months after we buried her, I found a letter tucked inside the back cover of her Bible. It was written in Ezan, her mother tongue. My cousin Adiz translated it for me over the phone. One sentence. Do not go back for my things. Let them stay where they are. I told Adiz it was probably just the words of an old woman who had grown too tired for sentiment. Adiz was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Emeka, listen to her." I did not listen. I arrived in Ogbene on a Thursday afternoon in August. I had taken 2 days off school. I told my wife Ngozi I was going to sort out some family property. Nothing serious. I would be back by Friday evening. Ngozi stood at our gate as I reversed out of the compound. She did not wave. She just watched me with an expression I could not read. She called me when I was 2 hours into the drive. She said, "I had a dream last night, Emeka. You were standing at a door and something on the other side was calling your name. Please, come back." I told her she had been watching too many Nollywood films. I should have turned the car around. Ogbene was smaller than I imagined. 40 compounds at most. Red dust roads, mango trees heavy with fruit, the smell of wood smoke and evening soup drifting from open kitchens. The first person to approach me was an old man sitting outside the first compound at the village entrance. He was whittling a piece of dark wood into a shape I could not quite make out. His face was a map of deep lines. His eyes were sharp and completely still. He looked up before I even stepped out of the car. "You are Mama Esse's grandchild," he said. Not a question. "Yes, sir. My name is Emeka. I've come to collect a few of her things." He set down his carving slowly. "I am Baba Oku. I was your grandmother's neighbor for 40 years. He studied me the way a man studies a road he knows is washed out ahead. She warned us you might come one day." I asked him what he meant. He said, "She said her grandchildren were stubborn. That one of them would not listen." He stood up with the effort of a man carrying invisible weight. "Collect your things before dark, Emeka. Sleep inside. Whatever you hear after sunset, do not go to the window. Do not open your door." He paused. "And do not, under any reason, enter that forest." I thanked him and smiled the way city people smile at village warnings. A young woman passing with a bucket of water on her head stopped when she heard us. She looked at me with wide, serious eyes. Her name, I would later learn, was Amina, Baba Oku's granddaughter, no older than 19. She said nothing. She simply looked at me, looked at the forest at the edge of the village, then looked back at me. Then she walked away faster than she had been walking before. My grandmother's compound was at the eastern edge of Ogbene, the last structure before the treeline began. Inside, everything was exactly as she had left it years ago. A raffia mat on the floor. An old pressed Bible on a wooden table. Tin cups arranged neatly on a shelf. And on the wall, a row of photographs. My grandmother as a young woman, faces I recognized, faces I didn't. In the far corner of the room sat a small clay pot, sealed with black cloth and bound tightly with a cord of red and white beads. Baba Oku had told me, very specifically, "Do not touch whatever is in the corner of that room. Do not move it. Do not open it. Just leave it." I left it alone. I packed what I came for, photographs, 2 letters, a small wooden carving I believed was my great-grandmother. By the time I finished, the sun had collapsed behind the trees and the sky had turned the color of a bruise. I ate the small portion of rice Amina had quietly left outside the compound door. No knock, no word, just food placed there like an offering. And I lay down on the old raffia mat to sleep. It was past midnight when the insects stopped. That was the first sign. In the Nigerian bush, the insects never stop. Not fully. When they do, something has made them stop. I lay still, eyes open in the dark. Then came the sound from the forest. Not a scream. Not an animal call. Something that lived in the space between those two things. A voice that had once been human and had since forgotten how. Low and rhythmic, rising and falling, coming from somewhere deep between the trees. I told myself it was the wind. Then it said my name. Emeka. Not my nickname. Not the name friends use. My full name, pronounced exactly the way my grandmother pronounced it, with that specific softness she gave the first syllable that no one else in the world gave it. Once. Twice. A third time, closer now. I stopped breathing. The room temperature dropped so suddenly that when I finally exhaled, my breath appeared in front of my face like smoke in the darkness. The air became thick and heavy, pressing down on my chest. Then came the footsteps on the path outside. Slow. Even. Patient. Not the footsteps of someone who is looking. The footsteps of something that has already found. 3 knocks on the door. Soft. Almost polite. And then a voice wearing the shape of my grandmother's voice like a borrowed dress 2 sizes too small, said, "Emeka, my child. I have been waiting. Open the door and let me see your face." Mama Esse had been in the ground for 5 months. I pressed my back flat against the far wall. My phone screen showed 1:17 a.m. I thought of Ngozi. I thought of her dream. Something on the other side was calling your name. I thought of Adiz saying listen to her. I thought of Amina's eyes moving from my face to the forest and back. I recited every prayer I knew. In English. In Yoruba. Under my breath, barely a sound, over and over and over. The knocking continued. Then Baba Okyo's voice, real this time, ragged with age and urgency, called out from somewhere nearby outside. "Emeka. Do not open that door. Cover your ears and do not listen to it. It is not her." Then I heard Amina scream. Then silence. At first light, I ran. I did not pack my bag. I did not look for Baba Okyo or Amina. I got into my car with shaking hands and I drove, and I did not stop until I reached a petrol station on the outskirts of Benin City where a sleepy attendant looked at my face and asked if I needed a hospital. I called Ngozi. She picked up on the first ring, as though she had been sitting by the phone all night. I told her everything. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Emeka, the clay pot in the corner. The one the old man told you not to touch." I said yes. "Did you close the compound properly when you left?" I opened my mouth. I tried to remember. I had run. I had not looked back. I had not. I called Baba Okyo's number 3 times that morning. No answer. I called Amina's number, the one she had written on the small piece of paper she slipped under my door the night before without explanation, as if she had known I would need it. It rang. And rang. And then someone picked up. There was no voice. Only breathing. And then very softly, in a voice that sounded almost like Amina's. Almost. "You left the door open, Emeka." I have not returned to Ogbene. I do not know what happened to Baba Okyo. I do not know what happened to Amina. The compound door is still open. And whatever was in that clay pot has had 8 months to walk out.